which questions on that first page do you want to see, do, go over, review? And we may just look at the class recording for later. Any others? So, I am going to say this. Make sure you are paying attention. Anyone not paying attention, I am not staying after for you because this is the time to ask questions about this. For number 2, our goal on this entire page, get the variable by itself by using our inverse operations. So for number 2, we have to get rid of the 19. How would we do that? Multiply both sides by 19. Multiply that, tell me what you get. Oh, if you didn't grab your calculator, go grab that. Remember that with all of these, you can put the number back into your original equation and double check to see is your work correct or not. 3, again, we were trying to get n by itself. What would we do first?
+2.
Add 2 to both sides. We have 2 equals negative n. N is not by itself yet. We have to get rid of the negative. How would we do that?
Divide by -1 on both sides.
So that negative 2 equals n. Number 7. What do you think we're going to do first?
Distribute.
Distribute the negative 6. We have 3 minus 6 minus 36r equals 28 minus 5r. After we distribute, what would we do next? Combine what? What are the like terms? Say that again, sorry. So that would be moving it to the other side, not combining like terms. 3 and -6. Sure. So then you have choices. Nicole said add the 3 over, and we could do that. And then also get rid of the 5 at the same time. Okay. And then divide. What is the value of r? Have any questions on that process? Ten is similar, except now you have to distribute on both sides. We have negative 24n minus 24 plus 6 equals 4 minus 24n plus 2. Combine like terms on the same side. We have negative 24n minus 18 and 6 minus 24. Then again, we have a choice. What do we want to move next?
Yes, positive 18. I mean,
Sure.
negative, yeah, positive 18.
Move it so we're adding 24. If we are adding 18 to both sides, then we are adding 24 to the other side. But this entire side cancels and becomes 0. our variables cancel, so we don't have anything left. These two numbers do not equal each other, so this is no solution. Any questions on that process? Go on to the next page. And find questions on that page you want to see you go over. So now we're in literal equations where, like solving, we are solving using our inverse operations, but we won't get an actual numerical answer. They'll all be with variables.
11, 20, 18.
What number did you say? Yes. Okay, let's start with 11. Our goal is to get A by itself. So we got to get rid of B and M. How would we do that? Or what would we move first?
We multiply m to both sides.
Yeah. So get rid of the M first, multiply M on both sides. Here, when you do inverse operations, it disappears from one side, but now it's on the other. It doesn't disappear completely. So then how would we get rid of B? Divide it on both sides. I put C, not B.
So would it be cm divided by b?
Yes. Equals N. So if I knew what the values of those were, I could check it, but I don't. So you could pick different values for each variable and see if that works. Questions on that one before page 12?
It's weird.
It feels like there's more to do, but that's it. Right, 12, we are solving for x. So in order to get x out of the denominator, we have to multiply it to both sides. And that's going to feel like we're not getting x by itself, but it helps the process. When we do that, I'm going to leave w plus b in parentheses and put x out in front. Then we're not going to distribute because that wouldn't get x by itself. You'd have multiple. But we could divide both sides by w plus b. So that k over w plus b equals x. Questions on that? Were you about to ask something, Brian? 17 was the next one. So this looks more complex than it really is because there's a bunch of stuff going on. We're adding, we're subtracting, we're dividing. But none of the stuff going on over here has nothing to do with us getting x by itself. We just have to get rid of c by doing what?
Minus.
So then you can write this a couple different ways. As is, put it at the end. You can put it first. You can put it in the middle. That order does not matter as long as you move it to the other side. So I didn't put some of the other options, but those are at least two of them. Okay, 18 is similar. We're adding n and p and y, but we just need to get rid of m by doing what?
Divide.
And we're going to do that all at the same time. So n plus p plus y all over m. And that's it. Twenty is a little bit more challenging because you have to think about how you would try to start to solve this. So you have x in the numerator, and you want to get it by itself. What you could do is think about this like a fraction with u over 1. And anytime we have a fraction that equals another fraction, we can cross multiply. So we have u times w minus v equals k plus x. And then this is similar to what we did before. How would we get x by itself?
Minus k.
So then you also have a choice. You can distribute the u, or you can leave it as is. Either or would be fine. You don't really need to distribute the u. There's not really a reason to do that. Other questions on that one or on this page? Once you finish, go on to the next page. And now we're into the second unit. First objective, slope, where we're finding slope from a graph, from an equation, from 2 points. Which of those do we want to see, go over, have questions about?
Are those circled, like, were you looking at them?
I had circled them last year, like I'm going to do these ones and then you guys can choose, but that was a lot, so I'm letting you guys choose all of them this year, so.
I guess we could do those too.
Okay. There are more on the page as well. Any others lower on the page?
27.
So starting with 21, we're looking for the slope of this line. So we have to find where does this line go through the grid lines, the background grid lines exactly. So one would be at the end arrow, another one at -4, 2, another one at -3, -1, and then another one right before the arrow. So it does not matter which points you look at, you really only need to look at 2. And you're looking at the rise over the road. How far does it go up or down, and then left or right? So start at one of those points, go to the next point, and count how many units it takes to get up or down, and then left or right.
3. 3 over 3 over 1x.
So depending on which way you're going, you're either going up 3 and to the left 1, which would make that a negative, because left is negative, or you're going down 3 and right 1, which again would make it a negative. So either way, you should simplify to get -3. Yes. Yes, always simplify no matter what. Okay, questions? Other questions on 21? (23) and 24 both are the same. You have to remember your Hoy box. Where our horizontal lines have 0 slope, the y equals is not really important for this one. Yes, make a pass. And then your vertical lines have undefined slope. So 23 is a horizontal line. So by default, the slope is always going to be 0. Then what would the slope of 24 be?
3.
That would be, if you were writing the equation of the line, it would be at 3.
0.
So it's vertical. And then just what type of slope?
Oh, undefined.
All of these things will not be given to you on the final, so you'll need to remember them. 27. This is already in slope-intercept form. So you just have to look at which of these is the slope. And it would be the one in front of x. So 3/4 would be that slope. 30 is not in slope-intercept form. So we would have to solve this. Think about this like another literal equation where we're trying to get y by itself. What would we do first? Subtract x on both sides. And then, and you're going to do that to everything. Divide everything by 3. So for this one, it would be -3x. This, you would make a fraction, -1/3 x. Other questions on this page? Yes. Say that one more time. Because this is already dividing by 3 and there's an invisible 1 here, I just took the numbers and moved them in front of the x. Okay, go on to the next page. So now we are writing equations from a graph, from a point and slope, from 2 points, from given slope and y-intercept. Which of those do we want to see you go over have questions about? So starting with 35, you're given your slope, you're given your y-intercept, so you just have to put those together in your y equals mx plus b format. So how would we write that equation with these two numbers? For 38, this kind of goes back to what we were just doing. Rewrite this. We have to solve y, get it by itself. So how would we do that, thinking about how we did it on the last page? Yes and no. The whole thing. Subtract 5x on both sides. Because they're together, we can't separate them. And then, just like before, divide everything by 2. This would be a fraction. We'll leave it as a fraction. Y equals -5/2x plus 2. questions so far? (39) through 42, you're going to end up using your point slope formula. So I'm going to write that up here. Y minus y1 equals m, then in parentheses, x minus x1. Where in 39, we are given our m, and we're given x1 and y1. And we just have to use the formula to write the equation. So we'd write it y minus, our y1 is already negative, so y minus -2 equals, our slope is 2, and then in parentheses, the variable x minus our x1, which is 3. Then we can distribute on the right and make this a plus. So y plus 2 equals 2x minus 6. And then our end goal is to get it back in slope-intercept form. So get rid of the 2 over here by subtracting. So y equals 2x minus 8. Questions on that one or other questions on this page? Go on to the next page. Now we are on graphing. So find questions on the graphing that you want to see, do go over. For 43, we have to get this back in slope-intercept form, subtract 3x on both sides, -2y equals -3x minus 4. Divide everything by -2. This would remain a fraction but become positive, so 3 over 2x. And then this would simplify to just be positive 2. Then from there, we're going to graph this, starting at our y-intercept, which is positive 2. So on the y-axis, put a point at 2. The slope is 3 over 2. So that's positive. So we can go up 3 and to the right 2 because those are both positive directions. But we can also do the opposite. Go down 3 and left 2 from the y-intercept as many times as possible. That also works because even though down and left are both negative, a negative over a negative is still positive. Once you have all of your points, connect all the dots, draw a line through them, draw arrows at the end. Have any questions on that? 46 already in slope-intercept form. So we just have to graph the slope and graph the y-intercept. Start at your y-intercept of -5 on the y-axis. Your slope, again, is positive. It's positive 1/2. So we can go up 1 and right 2 as many times as possible. Or we can do the opposite and go down 1 and left 2. Then draw a line through all of those. And draw arrows at the end. For number 48, start at your y-intercept -2. What's your slope of this one?
-1.
-1.
Just -1.
So you can think about that like -1 over 1. So in order for it to be negative, only one of the directions can be negative. So up and right, or down and left. So we can go up, sorry, I did that backwards. Up and left, or down and right. So we can go up 1, left 1 as many times as possible. Putting a point every time we go up 1, left 1. And then from the y-intercept, do the same thing. Go down 1, right 1. And then draw a line that connects all of the points. And draw an arrow at the end. Question on that one? Go on to the next page. This one should be somewhat familiar because we just did intercepts. So here you're finding intercepts from a graph or from an equation where you have to solve. Do we want to go over any of these? For these three, you're looking at the graph and finding your x and y intercepts. Where it crosses the x or y axis. So for 50, it definitely crosses the y axis at 6. So that would be the point 0.06. Does it cross the x axis?
No.
No. So there's not an x intercept. So you can put none, an A, doesn't exist. Don't put 0. $51 is the same. So here we have an x-intercept. Where it crosses the x-axis would be at 7. So you would write that as an ordered pair. 7, 0. Does this cross the y-axis? No. So again, this would be none. Doesn't exist. An A. Don't put 0. 52 is just where does this line cross both the x and y axis, and writing those both as intercepts or ordered pairs. So your x crosses at -4 y crosses at -2, so 0, negative. Other questions on this page? These are really all the same. So let's do 55 because there's 2 negatives. And this is short. They all really do the same. You're going to do the same thing for all of them. If you want to see another one after this. So for each of these, you're going to put 0 in for one of them and then solve. Does not matter which one you do first. So let's say I want to solve for y. I'm going to put 0 in for x. And then start to solve for y. So this would just become 0, so I don't need to bring that down. And then we would divide both sides by 3. And I could write that as an ordered pair. 0, 2. We know that x is 0 because that's the number we put in. Then you would do the same thing to find x. Put 0 in for y. And divide. And solve. And then eventually divide. So this would become 0. We don't need to bring that down. Divide both sides by 2. And we could write that as an ordered pair. 3, 0. Questions on that one before we do 55? Same thing. Again, does not matter which one we do first. I'm just going to keep doing x first. So put 0 in for x. And solve for y. Negative 9y equals 36. Divide both sides by negative 9. And write that as an ordered pair. So 0, negative 4. Do the same thing for the opposite. Put 0 in for y. It would become 0, so we don't need to bring that part down. And then solve for x. Divide both sides by negative 3. So then write that as an ordered pair. Negative 12, 0. Did we need to see one of the other ones? Go on to the next page.
So how far are we getting in the packet?
Today, I'm going to give you guys like 20 minutes left of class, so however far we can get up until then. So now we are out of marking period 1 into marking period 2. This should also look/feel familiar because we just did parallel and perpendicular lines. Which of these do we want to see you go over review? 65 and 68. Okay. So, side note, for parallel lines, they are the same slope. If you have to write an equation that's parallel, the slope would be the same, but the y-intercept is different. So for 60, if this is, we have to find the slope that's parallel to this. We have to solve this first. Get rid of 3x by subtracting. So 2y equals negative 3x plus 4. And then divide everything by 2. So y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 2. So if the slope is the same, what would the parallel slope be?
Same thing.
Which is?
Negative 3 over 2 x.
Not the x, just a number. Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. So you take whatever the number is, you flip it. If it was negative, you make it positive, and vice versa. So for 61, we're finding the slope that is perpendicular. What would that slope be?
Negative 5, 9.
Mm-hmm. 65 and 67 are very similar. They both can't really show the work. There are some things you can show, but not a whole lot. So because this is an x equals or this is a y equals, you have to know your Poiseuille's. In 65, because it's parallel, you need to know what type of slope this has. So if it's an x equals, this would be an undefined slope. If it's parallel, it's going to have the same type of slope, so our new equation will also be undefined, will also be x equals. And you look at the x value. And that's it. So there's really no work to do there. You have to know horizontal lines and vertical lines, the types and the slopes, and what value to put. 67 is very much the same. If this is a y equals, the slope of this line is 0. If it's perpendicular to this line, it's going to be opposite. So instead of it being a 0 slope, it's now going to be an undefined slope. If the new slope is undefined, our new equation is going to be an x equals, and look at that value. So there's really no work to do if you get a problem like this. You just have to know the type of equation. Questions on those before we do 68? It depends on the problem. So had this started with x and this was perpendicular, you would end up with a y. If this started with y and it was parallel, you would end up with a y. It depends on the problem. this specific problem, that's your x value. .68, you'll need your point slope again. And we first need to figure out what would our perpendicular slope be. We take that number and flip it and make it positive. 3, not negative, just positive. This is already negative. Then you don't need anything else in that equation. So we have our slope, we have our x1, we have our y1. And we can put all of that into that formula. So y minus y1, which is 5, equals our slope, which is 3, parentheses x minus our x1, which is also 3. Then distribute. Add 5 to both sides. So this would be the equation that's perpendicular. Questions on that or other questions on this page? Go on to the next page. Yes, it is. Okay, so on this page, the linear regression, it's giving you the line and best fit already, but we're going to redo them so that you know how to find it in the calculator, because that won't be given to you on the final. So you can either remember the steps or skip the problem. So we can do 70 or 71, and then 72 if you want. Which of these do we want to see you go over?
70.
Okay. So, again, if you didn't grab a calculator, make sure you have one. Go ahead and reset your calculator, second plus 712. And then before we do anything, we have to figure out which of these is x and which is y. So in this, would distance depend on cost, or would cost depend on distance?
Wait, what?
Would the distance that the plane is flying depend on the cost, or would the cost?
Cost.
Correct. The cost would depend on the distance, so whatever depends on the other is going to be your y. Distance is something you can't change, so that's always going to be something independent, so x. In your calculator, you're going to go into stat, into edit, so 1 or enter, and then you're going to put in your x and y values into this. Second plus 712. So as you start putting the numbers in, you can either type in the number and hit enter, or you can type in the number and do the down arrow, either or. stat. It's on edit already, so hit enter or 1. Once you have all your numbers in, you're going to go back to stat, scroll to the right for calculate, and then we need the one that says linear regression. There are 2, but look at the one that's more like your slope-intercept form, so 4. You can either go down and hit number 4 or just hit 4. Then make sure this says X list L1, Y list L2, and go down to store. And hit alpha trace. And once there, hit enter 3 times. So the equation they gave us is like a shortened version of this, but it's similar. On the final, it would say how many decimal places to round to. But because we now have it stored in our calculator, we can use it to find the values for part A and part B. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do that. For part A, we're looking for the cost, so Y, that for an X value of 850 kilometers. So one way to do this is to type in 850. So from this screen, I'm just going to type 850.
Did you just click enter and then 8?
I just typed it in. I didn't even change that screen. It just changed it for me. And then I'm going to hit the STO button above on. And then X. And then enter. And now 850 is stored in for X. And I want that value in the equation I stored. So I'm going to go back and hit alpha trace. We stored it in the first one, so hit enter twice. Yes. I just typed in 850. I just typed in 850. And then the STO button, and then X, and then alpha trace. Enter twice. So this would be our answer for B, but we have to round to the nearest dollar. So
$153.
I think it would depend. For this case, because it's not 0.5 and above, 152. If it were like talking about people or something, we would round up 152. The other way you could do this instead of storing it is go into the table, second graph. Here we go. And instead of scrolling through this until you get to 850, because that would take forever, go into second window, change this value to 850. And then go back to the table, second graph. And it would tell you exactly what your Y value would be at 850.
So should we rewrite it to 152.39?
No, because it said round to the nearest dollar. You didn't store it. Yeah. Yes. So if you don't store it back on stat, you won't get any of this. You can go back and do that.
Why is this process so complicated?
I don't know. I didn't make it. I just learned how to do it. Okay. Part B, you are looking for how much a 4,800 kilometer flight would cost. So, yes. Yes. You can either do the store method or still stay in the table. I'm just going to stay in the table since we're here already. Go back to my window, second window. change this to 4,800. And then go back to the table. Second graph. So if we're rounding to the nearest dollar, $701. Precious, at which part?
I got, like, I don't know, because I'm calculators and not getting the thing. I think I picked something. So go over calculator.
If you don't do that, the rest you're not going to see. It is. Yeah. Once you hit calculate. Right. We can do 72, or we can move on to the next page.
Let's do 7.
Okay.
Please, this drained me.
Okay.
You know how long the final is?
One question per objective.
Out of how many objectives?
All of them.
Question. How many objectives?
All of them.
36 questions.
36 questions.
So for 72, we have to first change whatever the first year is, no matter what it is, to 0. And then every year after that is how many years has it been since the original. So 2001 to 2006, which is 5.
Oh.
Then I'm not looking between 2006 and 2007. I'm looking between 2001 and 2007. So 6, 2001 to 09, 8, 01 to 2011, 10, and 01 to 2013. Not using the years at all.
You don't change the marriage licenses?
No. That won't affect anything.
Do we clear our calculator?
We don't need to do that. Let me show you. The years will always be X. You can't change the year, so it will always be independent. We go back into STAT, back into edit. The numbers you have in here, if you go all the way to the top, so where L1 and L2 is, hit clear, not delete, clear, and then scroll back down, it'll get rid of everything. And then go ahead and put those numbers in. Be careful because you have a bunch of thousands, a bunch of zeros. You want me to make it? Once you have all your numbers, the steps are the same. So go back to stat, scroll over to calculate, number 4, or scroll down to number 4, and store it. So go down to store, hit alpha trace, enter 3 times.
And I kind of blanked out. I blanked out.
Stat,
Stat, okay.
scroll over to calculate,
Calculate.
number 4.
Four.
Then on that new screen, go down where it says store,
Okay.
alpha trace, enter 3 times. I could probably do this stuff in my sleep because I've done it so many times. Okay. The equation is different than what's given because of we changed the years and they didn't, and I want you to change the years, not like what they did. But then, in order to figure out part A and part B, we need to figure out how many years has it been since 2001 to 2005 and 2001 to 2021. So how many years has passed between 01 and 05?
Oh, 4 years.
4 years, yes. And then 01 to 2021.
20 years.
So those are the 2 x values we're going to be looking for y values for. So I'm going to go back to the table, second graph, but when you do that, it's still at the 4,800. We don't need that. So go into second window, change it to either 4 or 20 or something in between, and then go back to the table, second graph. But it's round to the nearest 100, so 100, so
13, no?
130,100. And then look at your calculator, go down until you see x equals 20, and find that number as well. So 66,200. Yes. And I imagine if we kept going, they would keep dropping. If it was, oh wait, hold on. That's what I thought. If this was 1.5, then we would have rounded it up. Oh, you guys come down. Okay, so I think the next objective will probably be the last one we do today, and then we'll stop.
Thank you. Oh my god.
Because that would put us through the first unit we took in market grade.
Oh, what? Yeah.
Okay. So of these, which of these do we want to go over? Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And 73.
Do you have 50 linear calculated for this one?
You can give you as a choice for that. Oh, so you got that. Okay, so let's start with 73, do 76, and then see if we want to do any others. Okay. Alright, so important information in this, you plan to go skiing. The resort you're staying at charges $17 per hour. In addition to a $35 deposit, write and use a linear equation to find the total cost that should say from this amount of time. So in these types of equations, you're going to have a y equals mx plus b. So we have to figure out what those things are. M is going to be anytime you see per. B is going to be anytime you add on something and it doesn't go with the other thing. Like you're going to add it to the total whatever, but it's not processed in this 17 per hour. So this 35. And then you have x and y. X usually goes with your slope. So if this is dollars per hour, y per x, y over x, your rise over run, your slope. The hours are going to be x. And your total usually is going to be your y. So you'll need to label them either as I just did or off to the side, put which one is which. And then we still have to find what y is. So y equals, we know our slope is 17.25. How many hours would that be?
6 hours. 5 hours.
We would put 5 in for x, and we would add 35. And then we would add that all together, multiply and add that all together and see what that is.
Uh, 121.25.
One, say it again.
121.25.
So that would be the total for everything. Anytime they say something about a one-time fee, a deposit, that's always your fee. Be careful with the different problems. Sometimes they're looking for total, sometimes they're looking for slope, sometimes they're looking for B. Depends. Or the X. Questions on 73 before we do 76?
Wait, that's it?
Yes.
So like on the bottom, there was like one like that, like just do one time, do this another.
So it's only one type of question per objective. So you're only going to get one of these. Couldn't say which one. I don't know.
That's you.
And it's already made, so it's not like I'm changing it. Alright, 76. This one you could do in the calculator, or you can do by hand. It's really your choice. So, important information, we have this 850 square foot, whatever, is 1,172. 1,000 foot is 1268. These are inputs and outputs. They are not slope and y-intercepts. Because for every input, we get a different output. I'm going to let you guys choose. Do we want to do this algebraically or in the calculator?
Calculator, please.
Sure, I can do it like this. Okay, calculator first. So, calculator, we have 2 sets of x's and 2 sets of y's, so you're going to go back to stat. Go back to edit. Clear everything out. And put in your 2 x's and 2 y's. So 850 and 1,000. And then 1172 and 1268. And then we're going to do the same steps we were just doing to find our equation. Stat. We just need to find the equation, so we don't even need to store it. Go over to calc. Number 4. And you can skip the store and just calculate. This would give us our slope and y-intercept. So y equals, whatever that said, 0.64 x plus 628. So now we have the slope, which would be the price per square foot, and we have the y-intercept. If there weren't any square footage at all, you would still be paying 628, or maybe that's like your base price or deposit or something. I don't know.
So we just plug in 1,200 in X.
Oh, so that was my bad. I forgot there was the second part. I read that wrong. So I'm going to go back and do this again, just so I can store it. That was my bad. Alpha trace, store, enter. Okay. So now that it is stored, you can either type in 1200, store it for X, and then find your Y value, or go into your table. You have to change your X to 1200. So second window. Nope, not 200, 1200. And find your Y price, $13.96. You do the other. Oh, second graph. But I changed the window, second window, and then went back to second graph. So when X is 1200, Y is 1396. Or you could have put 1200 in that equation and solve either or, doesn't matter. Precious, do you still want to do the algebraic way? Are you sure? 73 through 75 will be set up similarly to 73. 77 is the one that's different. Do we want to see that or not?
Maybe next class.
Okay, so if you remind me, we'll start with that next class. If not, we're going to go on to the next page.
Wait, which one?
77.
77? Let me just take that out.
Okay, so then not next class, actually, because star test and flex day, but next week. All right, so we're done for today.
Thank God. Okay. Thank God.
All of the answers are on campus, so feel free to do this on your own, check those. Those that were not paying attention, please do not come see to my office hours. I will send you away. If you need to work on finishing a test or retake work, you can come see me today after school, tomorrow morning, tomorrow after school. Hold on to these packets. I don't have that many extras to keep handing out. What? Say that again. Oh, yes.